Joining us now is Kyle Asman, partner and co-founder of BX3 Capital. Kyle, it's good to have you with us. Look, for a lot of these tech companies, this would be a serious problem, it seems, as they look to evolve. Do you anticipate that this is something that could become law?
I don't know if it'll become law exactly, but I understand certainly why they would want it to be. I mean, you look at the bank lobby and you look at the government, they want to control monetary policy, and the biggest lobbyists in the world are the banks. I don't think Facebook or Amazon, for that matter, have been successful in their lobbying campaigns. You know, as they're going to the floor, and David Marcus did a nice job yesterday, but he's getting killed on antitrust and regulation. I mean, it's going to be a really uphill battle. It makes sense for them to have their own currencies, but it's going to be tough.
I wonder, as we are in an environment where these tech firms, yes, they are based in the US, but they're global firms. We just think about the regulatory action that the European Union has pushed in the last few days against some of the big tech companies here in the US. What does it mean for US lawmakers to propose something like this, but for Facebook's crypto project to be based in Switzerland? Is there anything that the US government can actually do?
Well, once the actual assets crossing the border into the U.S., then the U.S. is going to have jurisdiction over it. That's why, as we've been working on the Token Taxonomy Act, we've really been trying to advocate for global regulation and the EU getting together with the U.S. and even working with China and India, because this stuff's really across borders and really global. So, you know, if the regulators don't work together, it's going to work in one country, not work in another, and that's going to be a huge issue.
All right, so a few questions. One, is cryptocurrency, mass adoption of cryptocurrency inevitable? And if big tech doesn't have a slice of it or control it, who does?
I think big tech's eventually going to get a slice of it. I'd be interested to see, you know, China's been talking about issuing their own digital currency. Will the U.S. turn around and issue their own digital currency as well? I think that's something to watch and play out. And Christine Lagarde from the IMF, I mean, she's been interested in doing something over there as well. So I think we have to see what the World Bank, the IMF, the Fed, and China do. I think they're the four leaders.
For Facebook, though, and these other tech companies, if they don't get a slice or control the cryptocurrency market, how detrimental could that be to their business in the competitive landscape moving forward?
Well, I think long term, I mean, look at all the unbanked just in the US and globally. Look at what a huge chunk of revenue that would be for Facebook and how much more people could transact on their platform, plus all the data. I mean, it would be very detrimental moving forward if someone else was able to step in and take that market share from
Do you buy that this opportunity for Facebook really is about the unbanked, the way that David Marcus positioned it when he sent these tweets out a few weeks ago? Because the unbanked in the US is sadly been unbanked for a reason, and that's because financial institutions do not see them, this large population is worth taking a risk on.
Yeah.
Or do you think that this is something that Facebook is just saying in order to try to get in the good graces of regulators?
I think they will really make a strong effort. I mean, I think that cryptocurrency is really the first time we've seen anything that's a differentiator to go after the unbanked, right? I mean, the banking products largely have been the same for a long period of time. This is really the first time we have this kind of new banking product. So while they might be unsuccessful and they might be doing it to capture more payment data, so it, you know, makes their revenues per user higher, I think that they're really going to make a run at that underbanked segment.
How ambitious is it for any company, especially Facebook, to control bad actors on the platform, to make sure that it is rid of bad actors, to make sure that there's no fraudulent activity? That was, I mean, the key takeaway, at least for me, that we saw from the grilling on Capitol Hill of David Marcus the past few days.
It's extremely tough, right? And I know Facebook went out and they hired a bunch of people to try and monitor even things on the content side that might be violations of the policy. It's extremely tough. And now when you're dealing with money, you're dealing with government penalties, not just, you know, media pressure.
It was interesting, Mark Cuban also had a comment. Of course, he's in the business of startups. Amazon is his biggest holding, so he's not necessarily pro-Facebook. But he said for a lot of these more emerging markets that having Facebook control and basically disrupt their own currency could have mass reverberation effects beyond just money, right? That it could actually cause more instability in these places.
It could, yeah, because now you don't have governments controlling the monetary policy. I mean, you have Facebook controlling it, so now you have one person versus the Fed Board of Governors. I mean, it's a little bit of a slippery slope, but that's why they're trying to, you know, regulate it and make sure that it's done the right way, and there's a market segment for a company like Facebook and an Amazon. And, you know, I think with Apple Pay, I think we'll see them get into it as well.
What about trust? Where does trust come in on this? Because we have seen Facebook disappoint regulators, and I think disappoint analysts and consumers when it comes to trust. I think there's a big debate about really to what extent the general person understands what Facebook has done and what it actually does with their data when they log in and look at Instagram or look at their news feed. But will Facebook be able to earn enough trust from consumers for people to actually use financial products through the company?
It's going to be an uphill battle for them, especially for the people who followed the Cambridge thing and knew what really went on. I mean, I know they got some fines, but that was pretty nasty. But you look back at it, I mean, I know people trust the US dollar, but in Venezuela and, you know, some of the African nations, they don't trust the currency there. And, you know, there's probably a large segment of the population who doesn't trust the US dollar and what they do to their currency.
Do you think it's actually an issue, though, for Facebook? Because I do think that, you know, we follow these companies very closely, and I still don't think that the average person really cares about their privacy and security the way that we talk about it.
I mean, I think that everybody's data is monetized. We see actually a lot of blockchain companies that are letting people take ownership of their data and sell it for money because they know it's being done anyway. But will, you know, Facebook earning the trust? I mean, if you're underbanked and that's really what David Marcus is right, and that's really what they're going after, then you don't even have any other options. So that's what you're going for.
Okay, so for the average consumer, how do we get to mass adoption of cryptocurrency, considering all the problems that it's been riddled with, and just that, you know, there is a learning curve involved with transitioning from money as we've known it for hundreds of years?
Yeah, I think that you know, part of the learning curve, and it was any new technology, you're going to have a steep uphill climb to get adoption and make people understand it. I think companies like Facebook and Coinbase are working to simplify it so it can get into everybody's wallet, and we see the adoption growing week after week, quarter after quarter. So I think that's a strong trend for cryptocurrency. You know, it's going to take a couple of years to get mainstream, but certainly having companies like Facebook and Amazon getting in is really going to help that battle.
Okay, Kyle Asman, partner and co-founder of BX3 Capital. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Kyle.